Sherwood. Rook Studio by Rook Studio. This is a game that requires 6-sided die and 1 to 6. Oh, it just says 1 to 6 players. But Sherwood is one of the games that I was helping to sell at +1 EXP. I didn't really have to sell this one, to be honest. People walked up, they were like, oh my god, Sherwood, picked it up, and then ran away to pay for it. So that in itself kind of sold me on buying the game. Also, I was chatting with the creator. It's just such a nice guy, such a cool guy, and I wanted to learn more about his game. Also, Emma Goth Hoblin said it's a great game, and I value her opinion, so had to check it out. It's got that nice texture cover that we see on Tangled Blessings and Clean Spirit. It's like that soft touch. Our Rook is really nice on socials. Our Rook is really nice in person as well. Absentee kings, sadistic aristocrats, and parasitic officials. Luckily for the people of the realm, there are people like you. Whether you were once a peasant, a wandering player, a knight, or even a hermit, you're an outlaw now. Resisting unjust laws and protecting those the laws won't. Sherwood, a game of Outlaws and Arcana, is a complete tabletop role-playing game featuring character creation, core rules with a simple 2d6 mechanic, and optional magic system for more fantastical approaches to medieval outlaw life, 2 sample adventures for GMs, and opponent stats inspired the Robin Hood tradition. All you need is 6-sided dice, a game master, and 1 to 6 players. So, let's take a look. I got to play this with Goth Hoblin. It was such a great system, and the character creation is really enjoyable. See, he signed it for me. I'm special. Lie and listen, gentlemen, that be of freeborn blood. I shall tell you of a good yeoman. His name was Robin Hood. Robin was a proud outlaw, whiles he walked on ground. He curtsies an outlaw as he was one. He was never none you found. The Jest of Robin Hood. I've never read that before. Oh, it's a licensed game that takes place in the Robin Hood shared universe. Yep. Table of contents, pretty basic. Credits, creator is Richard Ruane. It might be Roan. I'm so terrible with names. Even Dimitri, by the way. Hello. I'm sorry if I missed you. Editor is Lisa Pedal. It sounds like Kaya might know Lisa. Bobicus. This be ye old English, ain't it? Just that part. Hi, Bobicus. Welcome into the chat. Feel free to say hello, introduce yourself, tell us what you're about. She's part of the NY LARP group I run with. Wow. Designer and illustrator is Eric Swanson, and then readers are John Harness, Justin Collar, and Layla Edelman. Welcome to Sherwood. I'm not going to read all of this. There's quite a bit of text in here. I'm going to try to pull out the highlights. My voice will disappear. We think we know the outlaws of Sherwood Forest. Their leader is a dispossessed and outlawed earl named Robert or Robin, who fought with Richard the Lionheart in the Third Crusade and returned to live in Sherwood Forest. He had companions named Alan, Tuck, John, and Will, and loved a woman named Marion. Robin makes them abide by his code of nonviolence while they wait for King Richard to return and end the usurpation. That was embarrassing. Of the king's brother, Prince John. They survive by poaching and banditry, sharing most of what they steal with the poor. But even a cursory scratching of the forest floor shows there is more to England's mythic outlaws. They occupy the royal forests of Sherwood, Barnesdale, Inglewood, Ely, and sometimes even Normandy. They include both historical outlaws, Godwin, Eustace, Fulk, and Hereward, who rebelled against their kings in the 11th, 12th, and 13th centuries, and also legendary outlaws like Robin, the Curtailfire, and Gamelin, who try the Chief Justicar for capital crimes, assassinate the king's high sheriffs, and steal from England's abbots in the name of the saints. They make common cause with barons against kings, or, echoing Wat Tyler's peasants' revolt, demand their kings protect them from barons, abbots, and bishops. Lots of background there. Sherwood is a game about outlaws, like the earliest outlaw stories. It takes place in an England of chivalric romance, so the outlaws may encounter aristocratic sorcerers and mythical beasts or wield strange magic of their own, like the later outlaw stories. The outlaws are not waiting for a true king to return and grant pardons, but have gone to the woods to pursue justice and rescue people from predatory powers that be. As you make your journey back to the forests of medieval England, I encourage you to keep the following principles in mind. Be an outlaw, fight for something, dabble with magic, ditch the ethnic conflats, fuck the true king. There's more there, I just read the headings. Making a character. Robin, your majesty, I can't take this. Queen Eleanor, why not? I'm rich, the poor are poor. Isn't that where you come in? Robin Hood Season 2, Episode 11, 2007. Dimitri says, well, I'm now following our Rook on social media since I've been told they're such a nice presence. Yeah. I don't want to flip through this right now because I want to do it proper. But this is the other book that he's put out, Moonlight on Roosevelt Beach, a queer game of disco and cosmic horror. So I'll be doing something over this later. It's just really long, so I wanted to make sure that I could pull out stuff that, not long, but it's got a lot of volume to it. So I wanted to make sure I pull out and show off the right section. So that's not for today, but it's dope. All right, so let's make a character. Sherwood uses a life path system for creating player characters. Describe where your outlaw grew up, roll your outlaw's attributes. We have a checklist here, which is really nice. Choose 2 background abilities, come of age, and decide what career your outlaw had before turning to outlawry. If your character was not a young outlaw or a notorious criminal, determine the trouble that sent your outlaw into Sherwood. Name 2 people that your character knows as connections that might provide help or get into trouble themselves. With the other players at the table, determine the resources and legend of your outlaw band and choose a mission and code. A name and home. While the Robin Hood stories are usually set in English Midlands or Northern England, the players' origins are definitely not limited, so it gives you some guidelines for creating your background. We have some gender and sexuality. Stories of Robin Hood are many things, but at their heart, they are outlaw tales that put their protagonists at odds with the authoritarians in their families, governments, and religions, much like LGBT plus people now are in the actual Middle Ages. Your characters are not limited to heterosexual relationships. Okay, social assumptions about gender roles and the gender they were assigned at birth. So, okay, great. Love that. Attributes, roll 2d6 4 times, assigning each roll to your outlaw's attributes in order, then re-roll the lowest attribute, ignoring the new result if it's lower. Okay, that's fun. It gives you a chance to sort of like optimize, so to speak. Endurance, ability to withstand injury. So these are our attributes. We have endurance, luck, wits, and willpower. Okay. We have background abilities. Choose 2 at character creation. We've got aristocrat, dabbler, background skills. Choose 2 skills, athletic, archery. Oh, okay. Herbalism, silver tongue, streetwise, heroic ability, jack of all trades, arcane talent. Turning 18 and starting a career. Okay, so this talks about how to take your young outlaw. I think that's really cool that it's not just make a character and decide how they got here. I love that it has the life path system. I think that's really interesting, really fun. There was something in your past that made you become an outlaw. And this is like, so here's an example. You were a wandering performer, you know magic, song, and story, but most importantly, you know the ways of the roads, taverns, and aristocratic banners. Becoming a performer. If your outlaw has a performance skill, they can become a wandering performer automatically. If your outlaw has a performance skill, gain the performance skill, then roll 1d6. You may roll on these columns both times or different columns each time. Eventually, you get into trouble, determine what happened, and name 2 connections. Okay. And then you have a little table. I really think that's really neat. That's a really robust character creation, right? I feel like that's pretty robust. And then we got sample names for your troubles. Let's roll a d6 and see what my trouble might be. I got a 3. An unfortunate death. Someone died and you were blamed for their death, whether fairly or not. So that would be the reason my character goes into Sherwood. That's so fun. And then there's 2 more tables to roll on as well. Then we have some rules for creating or equipping your outlaws. resources, which includes disguises, hiding places, equipment, room and board, ammunition. Spin your band's legend score to get favors from local townsfolk, farmers, aristocrats, and villagers. This is especially useful when your outlaw needs help but does not want to risk the consequences of a skill check. For each favor your outlaw needs, find someone who might be impressed or intimidated by the band's reputation and spend 1 point of legend. Oh, so you have a guild attributes that you all spend. That's interesting. Mission and code. Your band should have a mission composed of 1 to 2 goals. Love that. Your band should also create a code that outlines a few things that they will not do. For instance, your band's code may prohibit the outlaws from attacking local villagers, abusing unarmed commoners, starting uncontrolled fires, endangering the innocent, etc. And then we have weapons, armor, equipment, and supplies. How to play. It seems pretty straightforward, right? You make skill checks. In Sherwood, most character actions are fairly simple conversation with the GM and the other players, ordering beers, asking locals some questions, getting in touch with typical contact, using skills in relatively routine ways, etc. These sorts of everyday actions don't require rolls. Whenever an outlaw attempts something risky, where success is possible and failure is costly, great word choice there, the GM can call for a roll. Say what your character is doing and what the known risks are, and roll 2d6. You can add one of your outlaws' relevant skills if you have one. Be careful though, bad things almost always happen when a roll fails. Once the session starts, the most common reason for the dice to come out is because the characters are trying something risky, skill checks, or avoiding danger, saving throws. Pretty standard, right? We have checks and skill checks and saving throws. Combat in Sherwood works like other situations, attacks, except against unconscious or incapacitated opponents, or skill checks. Okay. Got allies. We have a stamina and loyalty system, it looks like. Allies have the same attributes as opponents, stamina, reactions, and special abilities. We have injury and recovery section. That doesn't seem super long. We got a downtime question. Conversation. A conversion. Okay, let's look at this conversion piece. Do you have existing characters or opponents in another game system and want to convert them to Sherwood? Dragon Games characters. So Dragon Games characters are D&D. You can convert characters from other traditional games of Dragons and Dungeons reasonably quickly. These games generally have character abilities between 3 and 18, or occasionally 2 and 20. To get your Sherwood attributes, determine endurance by, yeah, I love that it has how to do it. Oh, even Troika's here. Troika is cool. I like Troika a lot. And then this part was optional. It also felt like it's kind of baked in. Characters with arcane talents can use cantrips and powers for those talents. So, and then we have some magic. And I love this note here. So player safety. While some players and GMs feel comfortable with powers like clairvoyance used on player characters, others may want to discuss it beforehand. Not everyone is comfortable having their character spied on by other players or being subject to a mental probe. Some groups may wish to adjust, limit, or remove some arcane talents. I think this is really cool. Game Master's Guide to Sherwood. So here are the principles for the GM to keep in mind. Wolf's heads have no rights. A character's status as a wolf's head or an associate of a wolf's head means they have no rights, including the right to get assistance from neighbors, friends, or the right not to be summarily struck down in the street. Forest is the domain of the king. Law and order have a lot of resources. Whoever is seen is remembered. Give the outlaws a reason. Make it strange. Power only wants more power. Show diversity. Show the diversity. How to assign awards, opponents and NPCs. And then we have some starter adventures. And these are pretty simple. It looks like, yeah, just 1 page each. Yeah, so not a lot of art or anything, but I still feel like it's pretty robust without being overwhelming or overstimulating in a way. There's a lot of choice without there being too many choices. It still fits that staple, so it's a true zine. Anything this size I call a zine, even if it's 100 pages. So I don't care if it's perfect bound. So how many pages is this? Does it have? It's less than 30 pages. A lot of it isn't necessarily rules, it's options. So pretty easy to set up and get going. That's Sherwood.